Right. Good morning. We are here this morning to talk about how to plan a lights on after school event. My name is Nichelle Harris. I am the CEO of 10 Speed Consulting and former OAN, Ohio After School Network director, former after school person who ran programs in Marysville and for the YWCA. For a really long time, YMCA too. So I'm here this morning to talk about Lights on After School and hopefully inspire all of you to have an event of your own. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can you guys let me know if you're seeing that? Maybe in the chat, give me a yes or thumbs up, so that way I know that you can see it.
I can see it.
Awesome. Thank you, Melissa. Okay. So, Melissa, I see you're open in there and I'll grab that for you. If you are watching this live, you are eligible for 1 hour of Ohio approved credit, which I'm happy to give to you. If you're watching the recording later, unfortunately, Ohio approved credit is not available, but I can come do this for your organization and give you guys Ohio approved credit. That's something that you want. So let's go ahead and get started. Lights on After School will be this year on Thursday, October 26th, 2023. And if you register on the After School Alliance website, and I'll tell you how to do that here in a little bit, you can get one or many of these really cute posters for free that you can put up around your after school program in your community to encourage people to learn more about after school programs. And you can also order some of these super cute pins that you can wear when you're out in the community talking to people about Lights on After School. So what is Lights on After School? So Lights on After School is an initiative of the After School Alliance, and they are our field's primary policy and advocacy organization working in a lot of different spaces, including Washington, D.C., to influence policy and funding that comes to after school programs. There is an after school caucus that exists that is made up of a wide variety of legislators at the federal level who try to make sure that they are advocating for increasing funding and access for youth to after school programs all across the country. Lights on After School is a national day of advocacy, not just here in Ohio, but all across the nation. After school programs are leveraging this moment to engage folks in the community, people who make decisions, parents, kids, community members, to really take a moment and appreciate how after school programs keep kids safe, help working families, and inspire kids to learn. So, Lights on After School can be a wide variety of things. It can be, an event that you have in your own after school program. It can be an event made up of multiple after school programs for like a larger community event. And to be honest, it doesn't even have to be an after school program event. You could host a coffee for legislators or for partners in your community. You could host a breakfast for school staff. That way they can see what you're doing in your after school program. You could even do an art project like on the After School Alliance website. They have light bulbs that the kids could decorate. You could collect all of those and send them to your school superintendent or your state representative, or even all the way up to your national reps. So it can really be whatever you want it to be. But today we're really going to talk a lot about after school program events and how to organize those yourself. I'm going to skip that. So we already talked a little bit about this, but Lights on after school is really your opportunity to do a wide variety of things for your program. First of all, you can start building champions. So people who never get the opportunity to see the amazing things that you do in your after school program can come to your Lights on After School event and have the opportunity to see more than just, parents will come to your program as you're kind of wrapping up and you are, maybe doing some low stakes activities, maybe just like, doing some puzzles or blocks or Legos. They don't get to see the, amazing arts and crafts project that you were building for the day or the science project that you did. And a lot of times if parents come and pick their kids up after school, parents are in and out. They might just be like, come and get your stuff. Let's go. We've got dance. We've got soccer. We've got a parent meeting tonight. It's the school. We've got, whatever. And if they ask kids, like, what did you do in after school? Kids are sometimes real selective about what they say. Oh, nothing. Oh, this, I got in a fight with my friend. Oh, we played on the playground. And so that gives a lot of people who could be your champions maybe the perception that not a lot happens when we know that's not true. So it's a great opportunity to start bringing people in to build champions to really see what you're doing with your after school program. You can also take this opportunity to educate your policymakers. Bring your school superintendent in, the person who or the person who allows you space in the building to see exactly what you're doing. They're setting the policies for what happens within your school. Maybe that you could bring them. Highlight your program outcomes. When I worked in Marysville, one year our middle school program had an outcome that was every single at-risk kid in the after-school program made AYP, adequate yearly progress, in math and reading that year. That's an amazing accomplishment. And so you want to make sure that you're saying the things that you're doing that are really influencing kids' academic and social lives. You can also use this opportunity to celebrate supporters. So if you have volunteers that are coming into your program to teach kids, or other folks in the community who help share the message of your amazing after school program, you could bring them in and celebrate them. It's also a great time to have custodial staff celebration day, or something like that, where you're trying to celebrate somebody that actually helps facilitate your program every day in a school or in a community setting. You can also use this opportunity to give leadership to your support staff. Maybe tell them, I would love for you to plan the Lights on After School event, or for your kids. We need an activity. We're not sure what to do. Could you perhaps design something and lead us through it at Lights on After School? It's a great opportunity for youth and for adults alike. So you might think to yourself, what will your event be? We talked a little bit about what kind of event you could host. You could host, something that just happens at your own after school program site. It could be out in the community. You also might brainstorm what resources you need to have your event. If you're going to go somewhere off-site, obviously you're going to need transportation for your students. You might need food. You might need a PA system. You might need, oh gosh, I don't know what you need, but it's a good time to brainstorm what types of things you'll need to make sure that your event's successful. What about inclement weather? If you're outside in like in a field or at a park, you might need a B plan if it starts pouring down rain or snowing. I hope that doesn't happen. Oh, sorry, I knocked in our Frenchie. Heard me. And will students be included? It's a great question to ask. You don't necessarily have to include students in your Lights on After School event. Like I said, you could host a breakfast, a coffee for community folks. But if they are going to be included, you'll definitely need a supervision plan for them. because a lot of things could be happening at your event and you want to make sure that the staff are on point. If you need inspiration, you can check out the After School Alliance Lights on After School page for more ideas. So you might also think about where and at what time you have your event. What do you need to secure your venue? When we had ours in downtown Columbus, we had to work with the city to make sure that we reserved the pavilion in enough time. That way it wasn't taken by a Boy Scout group or, another community activity that was happening. What time will your event begin and end? For us, when we included transportation, we had to extend our hours, which meant that we had to extend our staff time. So we had to really watch for overtime that week, because we were staying at the program site, until 7 instead of getting picked up by 5:30 or 6. How will you communicate to your guests? Will you use socials? Will this be like an open event? Or will you have an email chain? Will you have a text chain to communicate to folks if there's a last minute decision to move for a location, or if you need to go to your B plan for inclement weather? And then also the question is, will guests stay after their activity? So if you are inviting a special guest to do something like cut a ribbon or make an announcement or present a proclamation, you have to think about if they're going to stay after they do that and what exactly they'll do. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. I've included several quotes in this presentation because I feel like they really resonate with this whole planning process for Lights on After School. The first one comes from President Teddy Roosevelt. Do what you can where you are with what you have. We understand that Lights on After School is a couple months away, so we don't have a 6-month runway to plan an event. That's okay, no worries. You can do any kind of event that you want within the time frame that we have. So, who should you invite to your event? Decision makers, of course. Your superintendent, a local legislator, a mayor, someone like that, a city council, community partners, people who you might be looking to make an ask for funding. Your local foundation or a for-profit organization in your community. You can invite parents to come to your Lights on After School event too. And of course, youth, we'd love to have youth there. If there's a great place to put them, you can see here one of the after school programs invited their local state rep to come and be a part of their event. So how do you invite decision makers? Being a former special guest to many Lights on After School events, I kind of want to speak a little bit from that position too. Who do you talk to get them there is an important thing to know. So, emailing the mayor directly to ask may or may not be effective in your community, but likely he has a scheduler, and same with like state reps. And that's the person that you need to get to talk to get onto their calendar. So make sure that you're talking to the right person. That way sometimes legislators will say, oh yes, I'd love to come to your event. Fantastic. But they've got a meeting out of town that they can't miss. So it wouldn't be possible. Their scheduler would know that. When do you make the ask? As soon as possible. And then also following up, starting a month out from your event, with weekly reminders that this is coming up. That way they've got it on their calendar and they don't forget. Who is in charge of the ask? You might designate one of your staff to be the point person to reach out and ask your special guest to come. You can also ask a child, a youth in your program to make the ask. Would you write a letter to our mayor and invite them to the after school program? If you're trying to get some of your teachers in your building, a formal letter from a student inviting them to this event is a little bit different than if they just offhandedly mention it when they're coming into their classroom one day. So who and how to make the ask is important. And then also remember that cancellations are a possibility, so prepare. I remember once for one of my after school programs, we had a state rep who was scheduled to come. the site director told the students for days. They made a banner, they made signs, they planned their activities. And then at the last second, he got called into something and couldn't come. And everyone was so disappointed, but that's just sort of how it goes sometimes. So making sure that they know that a guest is coming, but also, things happen, people have to cancel, emergencies come up. So we want to make sure that students and staff alike are prepared for that. Nobody can tell your story the way that you can tell your story. And so it's really important that you take this opportunity to shine at your Lights On After School event. So here are some tips for hosting your event. First of all, alert the media. You might do a media release, and there's a template for that on the After School Alliance website. You can type up what you're doing, send it to your local paper, send it to your school district to, announce Lights On After School. You could have two different announcements. One could be just talking about Lights On After School and what it is, and another one could be a formal invitation to the media, inviting them to come as well. Another tip to hosting your event is delegating, deciding who's going to do what, at what time, in what way. As often we're the point people for this. Think of yourself as an event coordinator, but not necessarily the whole event planner. Share the load, share the responsibility, allow others to take ownership in this event. You also could designate a photographer. It does not have to be a professional photographer. It can just be one of your staff, because as the event coordinator, you get involved in a lot of things. You forget to capture this moment for later promotions or social sharing or newsletters. So make sure that somebody somewhere is taking great pictures of everything that's happening. It could even be a student in your program. Showcase your program. What does your program do best? What are kids really excited about? Let that be the catalyst for the activities that happen in your program. If kids are really into building, Legos and doing the Lego club, make sure that they have a space there to talk about that at your Lights On After School event. This one was for me more than anyone else. Don't sweat the little things, because when you event plan and when kids and community folks are involved, something always happens. So if something small doesn't go the right way, just don't even worry about it. Keep on going. And this is maybe one of the most important things around guests and inviting them. So let's say you invite someone to attend your Lights On After School event, and that person shows up. You need a plan for what you do when they get there. And here's the reason why. And I mentioned earlier that I've attended lots of Lights On After School events. Sometimes I arrive at these events and people don't know who I am. And they were not expecting me because I wasn't on the official list. And they're like, oh yeah, just hang out here. And as a person walking into an activity where everyone seems to know one another and everyone's having fun, sometimes that could be a little intimidating and off-putting and make me uncomfortable. So I would walk in and kind of look around and go, well, I don't really know what I should be doing. And what I wished, and what I wish for you, is that there was someone there that could catch me when I came in and show me what I'm seeing. To the outsider, it just might look like you're doing a Lego club, but what Legos do for kids as far as engineering goes, as far as math goes, as far as creative thinking goes, and conveying that narrative to your guest and why it's important that you do these activities lets them better understand the impact of what you do in your program than if they just saw a group of kids sitting playing with Legos. So your guest needs a guide through the program to narrate what's happening and also to introduce them. You'd want to go up to your staff and say, oh, this is, Mayor Jones. They came to the after school program. This is our site coordinator, Jose, however you want to do it is fine. But they also need an activity to do when they're there. And they need to kind of know when it's okay for them to leave. Because otherwise they don't really want to like, leave too early and disappear without saying goodbye, because what if they miss something? So hey, we want you to come in and give a welcome to everyone. So you stop the activity. Here's the mayor. The mayor says, welcome. After school's important. Our after school programs are amazing. Thank you for having me. And then you say, thank you so much for that. You're welcome to stay, but I know you're very busy. If you have to get on to other things, that's fine too. The rest of the day will just be informal events. Then they know, okay, I can leave if I want, or I can stay if I want. But that is a really, I think, overlooked yet critical part of having a special guest at your event, is kind of Sherpaing them through to make sure that they can really digest what they're observing. And of course, have fun at your after school event. So after your event happens, you've planned it all out, you've had your special guest come. Here are some things that you might want to do. First of all, write a recap for publicity. Here's what we did. It was amazing. This many special guests came. We were happy to have the mayor there, blah, 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 whatever happens. You can share it in your newsletters or in your socials, and make sure to write a thank you note to your guest, or even better, have the kids do it. Mayor Jones, thank you so much for coming to our Lights On After School event. We loved having you and meeting you. We hope you'll come back and visit our program another time. And then with my staff, one thing that I always like to do was go back and list the grows and glows. Like, this was something that we could probably do better next year, but this is something we did really great. And recapping that and giving the staff a lot of kudos for what I'm sure was, a heavy lift in planning this event, and a little bit more than the traditional after school program, a little bit more chaotic, but a lot more fun. Just helps the staff have more buy-in for future events that you might be planning. So celebrate what you accomplish, but raise the bar a little higher each time you succeed. So I'm going to take the opportunity now to talk about 2 Lights On After School events that my staff and I planned and executed in the past that were super successful, and hopefully inspire you to think big, maybe this year or next year, for your Lights On After School event. So the first one happened back in 2012. Wow, that was 11 years ago. Long time. We did a flashlights up after school STEM camp for the Marysville School SAC program. So here was the idea. We began planning this back in August. We planned this event based on a math camp concept that one of my staff saw at the annual Lights On After School, or I'm sorry, Off to a Great Start conference in Columbus, Ohio. The flashlights helped, like the idea of a flashlight, helped draw attention a little bit to the camp concept. So the staff really liked that name. Here you can see a picture of the staff all doing their planning, because I asked them all to help plan activities. So we took a lot of traditional camp activities and translated them into some STEM concepts. The staff brainstormed ideas that they could do with their kids, having like the overall activity idea kind of planned out, but then having the kids supplement that activity and help the staff actually plan it. They wrote really easy to follow lesson plans and then assembled all the parts they needed for their activities, because we were going to have some high school students come in and actually lead the activities while the staff did youth supervision. Oh, we did more planning. We consulted with one of our supporters in the community, an educator, John Boggs. He looked over all of our science lessons, gave us some suggestions and tips. We also communicated with parents, because this was going to be a bus trip off-site from the regular location. We moved all the students to one large location. We moved them to our intermediate school for the day. And we included all the after-school program students in the process. For example, the activities that we did make a beaded necklace. That's a really traditional camp activity. For our younger students, The kids thought it would be fun to use an A-B patterning or an ABBA patterning. They had some templates there for doing that. And for our older students, we did an activity on luminescence using our glow-in-the-dark beads. The kids wanted to do a make a paper plate tambourine because they said that they thought that was a camp activity. I said, all right. So they used a student-directed YouTube video lesson to count music beats in multiples of 8 after they made the tambourines, and that was a huge hit. They made their own snacks, a trail mix, by measuring using measuring cups, quarter, half, 1/8 cup increments. And then they did a run from a bear obstacle course. And they also made a line graph and charted how fast everyone did the obstacle course. That was fun. We had a lot of publicity for this event. I went on our local radio station, True Oldies WQTT, and talked a lot about Lights On After School and what it meant, and talked about what the kids were going to be doing. We were in our local newspaper, and also a big announcement came out from our local school board office. And then the kids took this little chart around and they got little check marks on it by our student leaders, and then they earned flashlights, compass, whistle, keychain, flashlights if they completed all of the activities. And like I said, we had some volunteers from our local Teaching Professions Academy and some high school volunteer groups that came in and ran the activities while our staff did student supervision. Some of the highlights, we did an art walk that was like a cakewalk, but the kids all made these art projects and kids really loved doing that. And then of course we had some cameras floating around. They took a bunch of pictures, and then our high school tech club put them into a video for us afterwards. We had a lot of parent involvement and a lot of community interest. But as far as after school advocacy went, in our debrief, my staff said, well, we still had this in a building and not a lot of people had the opportunity to really see what goes on in after school. How do we take this up a notch? So then the following year, we did a party in the pavilion. Oh no, it was 215. So we took a few years off, and then we planned our party in the pavilion. So this time when we did an event, we had lots of partners. We had our St. John's JEC after school program that joined us, as well as the Union County YMCA after school program. We had the city of Marysville and also Memorial Hospital come out to help support our activities. Here are a couple photos from the participants. We had many special guests that came this time. We had our school board president, Sue Devine, who ended up being a huge champion for after school in Marysville. We had one of the students had invited their principal, Carol Lentz, and she came. Our assistant superintendent came out, Jonathan Langhouse, and Mayor John Gore, along with YMCA group exercise instructor Leslie Kubler, who you'll see later in an activity. Mayor Gore, we gathered all the students around. He did a proclamation declaring it Lights On After School Day, and had the opportunity to compliment our after school program staff on the work they do with students from 3 to 6. That was a huge morale booster for our staff, and also for our community partners that were there to see. And it was great to have our special guests also participate in that. Leslie Kubler led our students in a Zoom activity. That was our physical activity for the day. The students had a really great time with that, and so did the staff. And then our middle school based students helped out in a couple different ways. That's our Bunsold After School Enrichment 21st Century program. They helped all of the students make healthy snacks. The trail mix is always popular. And the base students also did something else on their own. They decided that since this was an advocacy event, that they were going to stand out on the sidewalk with signs that said, support your after school program in your community. And it's all about the base, which they always said, because it was base after school. And then the students tracked how many people honked their horns for the signs that they held out that said honk if you support after school in Marysville. And then they came to me afterwards and said, Miss H, 327 cars honked. So we've got 327 supporters in Marysville. So I loved that the kids took this initiative to do this and stand out there with the staff, of course, staff folks. But it also allowed passersby to have more of an idea of what was actually happening in the community. And that is as you can see by the traffic in the background, a pretty active corner. Lots of folks pass by. So we were glad to be out there in the community, really doing advocacy and telling people what was happening. So these are just a few more pictures of our party in the pavilion and things that we did. It was a really great activity. That was one of our best lights on after school events. So a dream is just a dream, and a goal is a dream with a plan and a deadline. So let's talk a little bit about that. What are your next steps? If you're going to have a lights on after school event this year, think about what your goals are. You might say, okay, our goal is to do something, an activity. We've never done this before. We're going to start out and do a thing. Or you might say, we're going to reach for the sky and we're going to try to get our mayor and our superintendent to come. Whatever your goals are, sounds fantastic. Plan your event and make sure to register your event with the After School Alliance. So another thing that the After School Alliance is doing is tallying up how many lights on after school events happen across the nation and where they happen. Sometimes they get a reach out from a legislator who is on the caucus or who hears about lights on after school and wants to go to one. So the Alliance could reverse engineer it and reach out to you and say, oh, I see you're doing a lights on after school event. Would you reach out to your legislator? They want to come. That has happened before when I was the OAN ED. So yeah, make sure you get on the After School Alliance website, register your event. Make your invitation to your special guests at least a month out. So that's coming up here a couple weeks, September. You'd want to make sure that you're starting to get this all together pretty quick and get the invitations out. And then please send follow-up reminders to make sure people know what's happening. At some point you're going to want to designate someone to guide your guest. It can be a student, it can be an adult. Who's going to catch them, who's going to lead them through the event, and then take pictures and have fun at your events. Make plan to do that, and then also plan to send thank you notes afterwards. So opportunity is missed by a lot of people because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. So as we start to wrap up today, I'm just going to say, this isn't always easy. This is actually, a job to plan an event. It can be as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. But it is hard work. I will admit that, but it does reap benefits as far as, developing champions in your community who understand really what you do in your after school program. So you want some more information on advocacy or planning your lights on after school event, you can visit the Ohio After School Network website at www.oanohio.org. You can reach out to Michelle Richland. She's doing an event at the State House here in Columbus on that day. So I know that she's unavailable to attend events, but always wants to support events that are happening through communications or through making sure that you've got resources that you need. So reach out to her. And then also here is the website for the After School Alliance. Pretty simple, afterschoolalliance.org. You can jump on there, jump on the Lights on After School tab at the top and get registered and get some more activities there. So if you joined a little bit late, I just have a note here that says put your first and last name in the chat box. And so as I left some time at the end for us to do a little brainstorming or for you to ask any questions that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And open up the floor to people who want to come off mute or put a question in the chat box about hosting their own Lights On After School event this year.
Hi, Nichelle. I had a question for you. Did you say if we logged on to the After School Alliance, we could do the posters and the pins?
Yeah.
Okay.
They've got tons of swag on there. The pins you have to order, like those, there's a cost to that, but you can order as many posters, and they kind of look like about that size as you want for the community, and they'll just send them to you in bulk and you can start putting them up.
Okay, perfect. The other thing I wanted to tell you is, so I've been planning Lights On events for many years. So one time we did a glow party where we had glow sticks and we turned the lights off in the gym and invited the families in to come and dance with them. And it was all about healthy living and healthy eating and healthy snacks. So we followed like the My Plate
Oh yeah, great
curriculum with that. So that's how it kind of all went together. Another thing that we did one time with our older students is they all had to pick a topic that related to lights, and they worked in groups. And then we did like almost a little science fair walkthrough for the families.
Yeah,
so that was a really cool. Yeah, it was a really cool event for them too. And then in the past we've done like colored light switches and the little shrinky dinks, stuff like that. So I just wanted to share a couple of ideas that we did.
Love that. Thank you for doing that, Melissa. Those sound like super fun, really youth engaging activities.
Yeah.
But the kids had a blast.
This year, we're going to try to get all of our sites to go to the Science Museum. So that's what we are working on.
Great.
So
if you do that, don't forget, take good pictures and send them to Michelle Richland so they can use them in communication.
I just put that down as a note. What a good idea to have a program camera, maybe one for the staff and one for the students. So let the students take the pictures of what they think is fun and interesting, because we might not always think that. And plus, looking at kids' pictures are fun.
It's really fun because everything is up, right?
Right.
When you give
or how many selfies am I going to get? So,
right. Yeah.
That's all. Those are my ideas.
Thanks for sharing, Melissa. Jamie and Yolanda, any questions or feedback from you guys?
Well, this is Jaime. My
Jaime,
wife
I'm
Yolanda stepped out, but we have been doing after school programs. I think my wife started at the middle school for 10 years, a computer club, and I started 5 or 6 years ago with the high school. And it never occurred to me to invite parents or local community leaders. So we just continued. Some even school officials were unaware of the work we were doing until last year, because we were so under the radar. So now I'm thinking that it would be a good opportunity. You gave me some ideas to start inviting the community and see what we're doing and get more support, because we really need that to expand our programs. So you've got my gears thinking. So I think this was a very useful meeting here.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. And Jaime, there are templates for invitations on the After School Alliance website, and templates for like communicating like press releases. So you don't have to think up how to do all this stuff on your own. It's already there for you. You just tweak it for your own use. So
okay,
fantastic.
And you said this is like a statewide program that you want to schedule around, I think, October 23rd, but I may have to look at other dates where we have some special activities planned rather than speed up that process. But you've got me thinking. So then I'll get on the website and get some of those templates. That would be very useful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. So it's Thursday, October 26th. And it's a national event, so it's all across the nation. But, and I did not say this, so I'm glad that you mentioned it. There's no wrong time to do advocacy for your program. So if you can't make the lights on after school date, I mean, it's nice too, because there's a lot of energy and collateral around it, like posters and things like that. But there's no reason why you couldn't do it on the 27th or the 20th or December 1. It doesn't matter. All of these ideas are transferable. And yes, so absolutely, if you feel like, you know, October 26th is too soon, you know, for a lot of 21st century programs, I mean, I don't think you guys have to start till like the 15th or something. So how will you plan a lights on after school event like a week later? That's going to be really challenging. Not impossible, but really challenging. So yes, please understand that even though the 26th is the day, there's no bad time to host an advocacy event in your after school program to let people in the community know the totally amazing things that you guys are doing.
Great, thank you.
Sure. How about the Community Learning Center folks? Any questions or comments from y'all? Okay, well, hearing none, I'm going to give you guys a few minutes back. And I want to thank you all again for coming to this webinar today, How to Plan a Lights on After School event. My name's Nichelle Harris. You can reach me anytime at nichelle@10speedconsulting.com. You know, reach out, and I hope you have a great Lights on After School event. Have a great day, everyone. Oh, yes.
Nichelle, one
Yes.
comment. Will this, since this was recorded, will this be available to view and
Yes.
take some notes on? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'll send out my slides and I'll send out this recording to the After School Network, and then they'll push it out through their communications. And
Great.
also, if you
Okay.
follow 10 Speed Consulting on Facebook or on LinkedIn, I'm going to send it out there too.
All right. Thank you.
All right, sure thing. All right. Everyone have a great day, and I hope you have an amazing Lights on After School event. Bye.